Susan Teherani is our correspondent in the United States. She's now joining us live from New York. Susan, good to see you. There's a lot happening today. We see the surprise visit by the French President Emmanuel Macron to the White House. We also see the United Nations General Assembly convening in a short while from now to discuss the war in Ukraine, and it's the third anniversary of the war in Ukraine. What have we heard anything from the Russian side? Because we know that President Trump has asked Russia to back his resolution.
Well, there are two competing resolutions at the General Assembly, and they're debating it right now. But remember, General Assembly resolutions are non-binding. They're just symbolic, political symbolism. And the United States had urged all countries at the General Assembly to reject the European resolution, which calls for the full withdrawal of Russian forces from Ukraine. There is a competing resolution by the United States put forth. The General Assembly will also vote on that. But in the afternoon, the United Nations Security Council, which has veto wielding power, and those resolutions are indeed binding, they're going to be voting only on the U.S. resolution, which does not call for the full withdrawal of Russian forces. Now, many are wondering why the Europeans didn't bring forth their own competing resolutions to the Security Council. Maybe because they didn't want to be so, in contrast with the United States on the one hand, and on the second hand, it was very clear that a country like Russia would not even let that resolution, but the European one, pass. So it's a lot of resolution talk going around, but ultimately what will really matter is what happens at the Security Council this afternoon. The one that we're seeing right now happening at the General Assembly is very symbolic. And of course, as you mentioned, this is all happening in the backdrop of Emmanuel Macron visiting Donald Trump. How that's going to affect what happens at the Security Council chamber will be interesting to see as well.
All right, we'll see how that pans out. We'll be waiting for the United Nations Security resolution vote and see if at all this brings to an end the war in Ukraine. Thank you, Susan. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.